plains of Hidalgo, the remote plains of Hidalgo, in the valley of Tepetlaoxtoc, lies the ancient village. A cathedral, dusty fields, sleepy rows of stone buildings. These are the boundaries of a boy's world. The sun fell warmly on the village the Sunday before the day of Guadalupe. Everyone was thinking about the fiesta, fireworks, the procession, the music, the color. But Benito was remembering. It was only a year ago his father died. It is not easy when the only man in the family is a boy. But somehow they managed. His mother was a strong woman, and his two sisters helped. Then they had a burro named Rosita. Benito's grandfather built the house in which they lived. He could remember his grandfather's stories about it. Its very stones were old and storied, taken from the ruined houses of the ancient people who had once lived in the valley. At home, there was always work for everyone to do. Mamacita herself supervised the household with a kind but firm hand. It was Graciola's task to see that the water bucket was always filled. Mamacita attended to the chickens. They were her pride. Benito had to place the gourds high on the wall to dry. Rosita had an appetite for gourds. Even little sister had a job to do. old phonograph was the family's one prized possession. It had been a wedding present to Benito's mother and father, and they listened to it every Sunday evening. On Monday morning, Benito and Rosita picked up the milk and delivered it to everyone living on their street. They were the only delivery service in the village and were much in demand. Their work took them from one end of the village to the other. Benito was happy because there was never any school the week before the fiesta. Not everyone was pleased with their services. But then there was no one else to deliver the Señora's pots to market. Benito and Rosita often took a shortcut home from the market under the old stone bridge. Remembered his friends and decided to stop and spin tops. Games are important to a boy, and much the same everywhere. But Rosita always reminded Benito there was work to be done. It was important that the hats be delivered on time, for the fiesta was near, and the men would want new hats to wear. Rosita felt delivering chickens was beneath her dignity. Old Angelo was the oldest man and the best storyteller in the village. He could remember the white horses and the golden coach of Maximilian. As the day's work drew to an end, there was only the firewood to be taken home. Benito wished, as he counted his earnings, that he and Rosita could earn enough centavos this week to make an offering to the Virgin of Guadalupe. So went the pattern of Benito's days the week before the fiesta. Then, one morning, as they went out with their first load, Rosita stumbled. No matter how much Benito pleaded, she would not get up. Was she playing tricks? Was she tired? Was she sick? He did not know. He would carry her load and ask someone to help him bring her home. He had stayed with her through the night. She was no better. Then he had an idea. If he brought out her blanket and saddle, perhaps she would feel better and get up. But Rosita only lay sleeping. Sleeping, she did not respond. Rosita was dying. Benito prayed as he had never prayed before. Mamacita knew there was no time to grieve for Rosita. They must buy another burro. She sent him immediately to Don Ambrosio's corral. Yes, Don Ambrosio had a burro for sale. A very small burro with a black stripe running down his back. Don Ambrosio knew the burro was the smartest in the corral. He would like to sell him to Benito, for he knew the boy had a special, kind way with animals. If only he had enough money saved to buy him. Don Ambrosio was his friend, but he was firm. 65 pesos. Benito's hopes dropped. No matter how many times they counted their savings, there was not enough money. But he had to have a burro. The burro with the black stripe. Somehow, some way. Early next morning, Benito went out to look for work to earn the money to bring home the burro. With all the village preparing for the fiesta, he felt confident someone could use a boy. The butcher was in the plaza. He and Rosita had delivered for the butcher before, and if he walked quickly, perhaps... But the butcher told him he was too small to be of any help without a burro. When a boy is small and unskilled, it's hard for him to find a job. But he remembered the potter would be busy making water jugs, the wonderful lady pitchers with the piercing eyes. Perhaps he could carry the clay, or learn to paint the faces, or carry them to market. But he did not have a burro now. And as he watched the skilled hands, he knew it would take a long time to learn to paint the faces. But he asked anyway. No. He could not even wash out the brushes. But the potter told him to ask the pulquero, who was busy and looking for a helper. The villagers would drink lots of pulque this fiesta day, and Don Jose was tapping the maguey plants at the far end of the village. Benito had tasted pulque once when his father lived. The maguey sap fermenting in the goat skin made the sour taste come back in his mouth. Yes, Don Jose needed help, a big helper. No matter how much Benito pleaded, he was still too small. Sometimes a boy is more alone than anybody. And then he listens to the wind and knows it is lonely too, as it takes along some dried leaves for company. He did not want to go home without finding work. How small he felt. His familiar village seemed distant and apart from him. Benito's father had worked in the adobe yard. Benito often came and watched the workers. They knew him. They would give him work if he had a strong back. He could carry adobe bricks. He knew they wanted to help him, but he was not strong enough for this kind of work. weaver's work was not hard to do, and the weaver worked at his wheel and loom every day of the year. He and Rosita had taken his blankets to market many times. He could pull the stickers out of the wool and do all the jobs the weaver didn't like to do. The weaver was in a bad temper, but he did tell Benito to go to his brother, the candle maker. Like all the village, the candle maker was very busy. Benito became so fascinated, he almost forgot he'd been turned down again. The carpenter had 2 boys of his own to help him. If only he had a burro he could use to carry things. The shoemaker could use him next week, perhaps. The only place left was the bodega, where the fireworks for the fiesta were being made. The men sifting nitrate powder were only helpers. He would have to ask the maestro of the fireworks. But the maestro knew the work was much too dangerous for such a small boy. The boy wished he could quickly grow big and strong. Then he would find much work to do. But there must be another way to buy the little burro. They would sell their one fine possession. Early next morning, Benito left for the market town with the phonograph. He did not mind the 2 hours' walk. He felt assured some unknown person would want to buy the beautiful phonograph. After all, it was the market day before the fiesta, and everyone would feel generous and buy extravagant things. Perhaps he would make so much money, he could even buy a present for Mamacita. The phonograph's plunking notes resounded in the plaza. They could be heard from the pottery stalls to the meat vendor, from the orange seller to the wool man. Many people stopped to listen to the music. But by late afternoon, only one person had asked the price. The shadows grew longer, and the boy's hopes dwindled. No burro, no present for his mother, no offering for Guadalupe, and the fiesta only one day away. With great disappointment, Benito returned from the market. The morning before the fiesta, a poor boy who has no offering for the Virgin of Guadalupe can at least show his love for her by offering his services to the padre. The padre was pleased. He was glad to have another helper. The rockets had to be placed high in the bell tower. Benito moved quickly, happy to be working again. Benito had never been inside the sacristy where the santos were kept. Their splendid beauty was sunk deep in the shadows of the dark room. With great care, they were brought into the sunlight to be prepared for the procession the next day. They were dusty, sitting all year in the sacristy, waiting for the fiesta. Benito thought of his saint, San Juanito. What an honor it would be if he too could be carried in the procession tomorrow. He would ask the padre. Candlesticks must blaze exceptionally bright on this special day. There was only the walk to be finished. Then he could go home and prepare San Juanito for the great day. Now all was in readiness. The great cathedral was draped in silence. Inside the cathedral cavern, myriad candles would keep a vigil through the night. And now he could tell San Juanito his surprise. He and San Juanito must be beautiful for the fiesta. The rockets darted wildly into the air. They could be seen for miles. Soon the crowds would gather. Everyone must hurry and not be late for the procession. Even the sun glowed with a special brilliance this day. Everyone in the village would participate to make this a grand fiesta. They must hurry and not be late. Don Lorenzo led the band on fiesta days for 40 years. He could not hear so well anymore, but he still played the best horn in the village. The second band had to come all the way from the market town of Chiconquac. This special day, its color, its spectacle, its beauty, its excitements, all he had looked forward to for so long, meant nothing to him without his burro. He felt strange and lost in the crowds. He tried to find the best place in the procession for his saint. Today, San Juanito will help. Bells rang loudly. The band played. To the outskirts of the village, the celebration could be heard. Two adventurous travelers were attracted by the sounds and braved the remnant of a road. Only Benito had lost spirit with the fiesta and wanted to be far away from the crowds. He did not understand these two strange people. Were they trying to take his saint from him? No. They wanted to buy it. Benito had to decide quickly. He would miss his saint, but the burro was more important. Without the burro, he could not live. And they were paying him more than enough to buy the one with the black stripe. Benito ran home, then to the corral. The little burro was his.